how many people go to the emergency room during Thanksgiving for football? And I was quite surprised that Thanksgiving is the undisputed king of football injuries on Thanksgiving.
Created live on Fireside.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Athletic Definition. I'm your host, Coach Ray Z. Today, we're going to talk about the history of Turkey Bowl. I hope you're excited for Thanksgiving, hopefully having some time off with the family, friends. And through the years, I think one of the traditions that I definitely see every time I'm driving around or me personally taking part in playing football. At this point of my life, I only play football once a year. Unfortunately, for the last 2 years, I have not played because of the whole pandemic thing. And I was looking forward to playing tomorrow finally. Unfortunately, we play at a college, at a junior college in the area. My friend works there, but because of everything, the colleges are being kind of hesitant. And so we did not get the okay to play on the field. So I'm disappointed about that. I'm trying to see if they want to do it at a park so we can still play. We'll see. That's up in there. If not, I'm either going to go play some basketball or go hiking, but definitely be active. I know with this whole kind of woke culture, some people are upset when personal trainers or fitness people say you got to earn your meal, you got to earn your meal. But I personally think there's nothing wrong with that. Putting in some work, and pretty much every day you should earn your meal. We're just so blessed to have all these conveniences of microwaves and stoves and refrigeration. I was kind of looking into the history of tackle football, just like on the street or for Thanksgiving. And of course, I had to start off with the beginning. Well, how did this all start? So, from what I was looking up, I found that thanks football actually, at the time, it was kind of like a cross between, I think they said cricket and rugby. So it was like a mixture, and we didn't really quite have football. So the first Thanksgiving Day football game was played in Philadelphia in 1869, according to the November 17th edition of that evening's Telegram newspaper. It said a foot and then hyphen ball match between two player or two of the younger teams, I guess, which was called Young American Cricket Club and the German Cricket Club, which took place on Thanksgiving. As I mentioned, we didn't really have football teams, and so that game was played. And then 2 weeks after that, in Rutgers University, they defeated Princeton on November 6th. That was actually considered the first football game ever. Now, it still wouldn't be anything close to what we see now in the NFL. At the time, really, I mean, Thanksgiving had just gotten started because that first game was 6 years after Abraham Lincoln announced the first national Thanksgiving holiday in 1863. So we're talking quite some time. And it started off with a high school, which is says that the tradition grew as many high schools began playing on Thanksgiving each year as well. Boston Latin School, the oldest school in the United States, established in April 23, 1635, began to play English High School of Boston Thanksgiving in 1887 at Harvard University. It is the longest continuous Thanksgiving Day rivalry in this country. And there's actually a turkey bowl. So when I looked up history of turkey bowl, there's actually people who do bowling with turkey. That's a whole different thing that I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then you have actually a game like the Cotton Bowl or the Rose Bowl. It's actually called the Turkey Bowl, and it's supposed to be the longest rivalry going on. I personally have never watched it, but I'm not really too much into college. I'm all about the pros. And I think that at the time, with everything going on, football is definitely nowhere near as popular as it is now. So what they wanted to do was they wanted to sell more tickets. So the first professional football game on Thanksgiving was played on November 25th, 1920. And no games were played from 1941 to 1944, and that's because of World War II. It was the Detroit Lions, the first Thanksgiving game, and it was going to be against the Bears in 1934. At the time, the Detroit Lions were 10-1, and the Chicago Bears were 11-0. in 1934. So it was going to be a key matchup. It was nationalized on radio. It sold 26,000 tickets in Detroit Stadium, which is the largest crowd at the time that actually went to go see a professional football game. And as I mentioned, it would be nothing like we see on TV today because the forward pass wasn't incorporated into the game until 37 years later. So it would kind of look like a bit of rugby. And then the Detroit Lions have pretty much played every year since, except when it came to the wartime. And then the Cowboys, they jumped on the turkey bandwagon in 1966, and they pretty much have played every single year except for 2 years. The Arizona Cardinals, I'm not sure if they were Arizona back then, but the Cardinals played. Ratings dropped, and then they put the Cowboys right back in. But pretty much they all did it to grow their fan base to get more popular. And then from there, that's where I'm like, since I've been a kid, I usually go out, play with my friends. We play every year, even people that don't really play. And then, as I mentioned, if you're driving to families' houses, just pay attention to the parks and you'll see people playing. So then I started thinking, well, how many people actually get hurt during Thanksgiving? So I kind of looked up how many people go to the emergency room during Thanksgiving for football. And I was quite surprised that Thanksgiving is the undisputed king of football injuries on Thanksgiving. In 2014, about 550 Americans 25 and older went to the emergency room because of injuries they got playing football. And that was a down year. In 2013, more than 750 people ended up in the emergency room. In 2019, more than 1,400 people did. And now we're averaging about 1,000 people per year. So you have a day off maybe from work, took a few days off, planning to spend it with a family, enjoy some dinner. Nope, you're going to spend in the emergency room. I think most of this happens because people are very inactive throughout the year, and then you go and you want to play with your nephews or your grandkids or whatever, and maybe you I know it's kind of tough because you get excited, and there's some funny clips of people out there like who take football too seriously, yelling at their dad, "Dad, I'm open! Dad, I'm open!" I think if you go with your mind's going to be stronger and actually think that you could do what you did in your 20s, but you have to remember you've been inactive. So I would say go more with trying to know your body's limits. And when you're playing one play or two play, you may not feel it at all, but you're definitely going to be sore. I only play football once a year, and even though I'm so active in other sports, I definitely feel it. But I love that because when we started playing with my friends, it was like my friend had a son early, and so did I. So our kids were around the same age. And so we started off as fathers versus sons. And then they were getting too good because they, started going to high school and stuff. So then we started mixing it up and we play flag football, and it's just fun. And we've been doing it for a year, but no one has really gone to the hospital because we're all just kind of playing for fun. But that's the one time where I get to try and see if I could catch these fast kids. And like a lot of them went to one of the top schools here in Southern California, Bishop Amonte, which has put out a bunch of NFL players from Dalen McCutcheon to Eric Bieniemy, and there's quite a few more. Actually, Eric Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs right now. And I got to see him play in high school. So I got to play with a lot of guys who went to these top schools, and I'm like, oh, this is where I get to show off that I could still keep up with them. So it's fun. But I really hate to see people getting hurt. I know I spent the 4th of July in the emergency room because I got bit by a dog. So spending your holiday in the emergency room is not the way to go. If you're going to go out and play football, try to know your limits. And it's hard for me to tell you to hold back. If you want to go out and do it, do it. But I just wanted to kind of recap, and it's still really kind of unknown, really, how so many people, I think they just, people start playing football on their own on Thanksgiving. Most people are off, but I really I think it would be so cool to be able to see like throughout the nation, all the different parks of people who just fill up to play football. Because at some point, that's what really got popular. But we, even with all the history that I went through from high school to the origins of football to the origins of the college game, it's really hard to pinpoint where it got popular, where families, friends would go out and play football. My nephew invited me to go play with I think they're probably all be in their teens and 20s. I'm thinking about going tomorrow, but I don't know. I might just go hiking because if I play at this point, I want to play where I'm not going to get hurt. I'm blessed enough to have tomorrow paid, not have to work, and I really don't want to end up in the hospital. So I'm just wanted to do this short show and really just say I'm thankful for everything, as small as the blessings are, for family, for friends. Right now, I have a part time job and they let me out 3 hours early and I got paid. That is so rare in a part time job. And I get tomorrow off and paid, and that is really rare in a part time job. I left the banking because I just couldn't do with it. I want to inspire, motivate people, and I figure I could reach more people doing this. So I started kind of doing a part time job, but it was very important for me not to work for a corporation. So I think it's because I found a small little company that's still kind of more traditional, and that's why they're paying the holiday. And it took a while to get, but it's keeping me afloat so that I could keep pursuing my passions. And I'm so thankful for even the small opportunities. And uh, I know a lot of us, because me growing up, I met a lot of people, and a lot of my friends didn't have moms, didn't have dads. So I know not everybody has families. A lot of people I know, dads were in jail or just abandoned them and just passing away. So I hope you can spend some time with someone. I know it's tough for a lot of people. Just really be thankful for as small as blessings as you have, and enjoy your time. And hey, if you really can't stand your family, at least there's football all day. Now, one thing that the NFL has done is they added a night game. So now you have a morning, an afternoon, and night game. And hopefully you can get some turkey. Unless you're vegan, then I don't know what you guys eat, some furkey. But thank you everybody for joining. I will be back Friday with my regular show, and we're getting close to Christmas time, and that is when I do my Merry Fitness show. So I will be doing 31 shows for the month of December. Pretty much the last episode always gets lost because that's what happens on good television, and then it reappears like a couple years later and it's the lost episode. So I purposely never put out episode 31. One day they will all be released, but this year I'm doing it differently. The first year I kind of just did it for YouTube. The second year I did it on Fireside, which is way different. Trying to do it live, you can't like pre-edit. So now this year what I'm going to do is I'm going to record more than one show the same day, but then release it on YouTube as day one, day two, day three. So anybody on Fireside will have exclusive to see what's going on. You'll actually see Merry Fitness day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm gonna try and do it about 5 episodes to carry me for about a week, maybe all 7 on the first and the second, and then we'll go from there. It's going to be Merry Fitness tips, Christmas puns, and a variety of guests. So I want to thank everybody for joining me. I hope you enjoy your holiday, and I'll see you this Friday. Until then, this is Coach Ray Z, Athletic Definition, and I'm out. And thank you everybody for joining me.